And again, I'm thrilled to have our special guest, Cheryl Taft, who makes the world more beautiful with her calligraphy, and she's going to share some tips and strategies for us. So welcome, Cheryl.
Thank you, Lori. Hello, everyone. I'm so pleased to meet you all. I wanted to start out by just double checking. Does everybody, I know Lori was trying to make sure everybody had everything that they were going to need to participate in the process today. How many of you actually who are here are able to access the pen, the paper, and the handouts that Lori was sending out to everybody? Has everybody got that? Okay, we've
We
got
have,
one person who does, two people who
I didn't
do.
get the paper, but I have the pen and I have some stock paper.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. The paper that you are using, it may not be ideal. So just keep that in mind as you're working through this process. It's much easier with paper that works for calligraphy, but you can use any paper. You may just not be entirely happy with the results, but you can still do the process and get the idea. So good. Okay.
and we don't know how to put our pens together. And my,
Oh, okay. Let me show you. Let me show you how to put your pen together first. So while we're doing this, I'll talk to you a little bit more about connections and everything. Lori, are you able to lock the view onto my desk, which I have set up for you?
yeah, I think what you need to do is, um, are you seeing the screen now with the pinned post? No? Okay, so under, do you see the picture with Callie's paper or with Cheryl's paper on there?
Yes.
You're going to click on that, and under those three little dots, it says add pin. Okay.
Yeah,
Got
the
it.
only difficulty is on the recording, it will not show my desk unless you pin it as the master pin, Lori.
I got
Since
it pinned.
yeah,
Do you,
since you're
do you
running
want
it.
me to make you a co-host, or do you need that?
Yeah, if you can make me a co-host, I think that'll help.
Yeah. Here you go.
Great. Okay. Let me try this. Okay. There we go. Okay. Can everybody see my desk as their main image now?
Yes.
Well, good. Okay, you can see my hand on my desk. All right. If you
No,
can't,
I don't see it.
okay.
Oh, yes,
Uh,
now I see.
now you got it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to have your screen on speaker rather than gallery to get that. So, okay. So here we go.
So that's view in the top right-hand corner, and it will say speaker or gallery. And if you put it on speaker, you'll see Cheryl's.
Yes, thank you, Laurie. Okay, putting the pen together. Now, I always encourage everybody to read through the material that comes with your pen, but not everyone is a directions follower like me and likes to do that. So here's what you're going to do. When you take it out of the package, it's going to look more or less like this.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully everybody got the one that's green over here. Hopefully that's the right size. So you're going to unscrew the barrel, and I think they've now changed to a white barrel
White.
instead of a
Yes,
gray
I was
one.
going to
Okay.
say that. Yes.
Yeah, it might not
Good.
be the same. The barrel might not be the same color as the one I've got because they've changed the color in the interim. So,
Okay. I see.
yeah. Does this make sense? So
Yes.
mine is already put together. Basically, what you need to do is you need to take your ink. There should be ink cartridges with it. I think there's
Two.
a red and a black one.
Mhm.
Use the red one. Use the
Yes,
red
ma'am.
one. Okay, because the red is going to show up better for you. I'm using blue, but it doesn't matter. But the red one will show up better. So you take your cartridge and you hang on one second. Let me pull this out.
Which end do you put over here? Okay. So, I think, I believe.
Sorry, everyone. I didn't realize I was going to need this. Okay, so your cartridge is going to look like this, except red. So you want the end where it's sort of clear on the end, and then if you turn it, you see there's a color thing in here. So yours should be red instead of purple. So what you're going to do is that is the end you're going to plug into your pen. So it's basically, this is how you undo it, like this. So you take that and you just push it straight in. Do not twist it. Do not twist it. Just push it straight in until it will not go any farther. Okay. So what'll happen is, I don't know if you can see this, but it sort of breaks through that color cap on the end. So you
Yeah.
just push it into the clear sleeve until it will not go any farther. Okay. So make sure it's nice and firmly seated. And then what you're going to do is, all right, there you go. Okay, on a junk piece of paper or back page in your notebook or something where the ink can bleed through and it won't hurt anything, because it will bleed through. Okay, here's what you're going to do. You're going to take it, don't put this part on yet. Okay, don't put the handle part on yet. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to take this, hold it pointing down towards your junk paper, and you're going to squeeze the cartridge a little bit. And if you've got it properly seated, then what's going to happen is it'll take a few minutes to get it done, but you're going to squeeze it, hold it pointing downward. You want gravity to help you get the ink into the right place. So you're going to squeeze it a little bit, and what's going to happen is sooner or later, you're going to see ink start to fill up this part of the pen right here.
Mm-hmm.
You see that? So you should hopefully in a minute or two see red ink start to fill up that part that has the black inside it. It's a clear sleeve over a black interior. So you should see red starting to fill up that part. And then once you see that, you should do this. Just make some marks like this. Now mine, I've been using it, so I know the ink goes all the way to where it's being, where it's supposed to be delivered, the business end. I know that. So I'm making marks. So if your marks don't look like that, if they look more like this, or if they just look like that, then keep squeezing, keep pointing down and squeezing so you get more down there, and then keep checking it, and you want a full width stroke. Okay. And once you get that full width stroke, then you're going to put the back end, the handle part, the gray or white part, whatever it is.
Got it.
Put it on.
Okay.
Is it working now?
Yes.
Yes.
Real good.
Excellent.
Good
Excellent.
instructions.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Is there anybody who's still having difficulty with their pen? Any difficulty with it? We all good? Okay,
Mhm.
good. Let me know if you have any trouble. All right, so once you're getting clear things like this, then on your junk paper, here's what you're going to do to just kind of get used to it. Let me just ask one thing before. Hang on, let me change my view so I can see everybody. How many of you who have used a calligraphy pen, something like this before? Has anybody
Not
used
me.
anything like this before? Okay, you're all new to it. Okay.
All
that-
virgins.
Okay, that's fine. I teach newbies all day long, so this is nothing new. All right. Okay, so here's what you're going to do to get the idea of how this works. What you want to do is hold your pen like this. So hold it so that you know what, it doesn't really matter. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to make marks like this and like this. So what you're doing is you are looking for where's the widest line you can get, where's the narrowest line you can get. You do not need to move it in your hand. You only change directions that the pen is going on the paper. So don't try to make letters with it. Don't try to make letters with it. Just make basic shapes.
Steps.
Right. Yeah, just make steps and see, okay, can I make that line thinner? Can I make it fatter? So try, instead of this way, what happens if you go this way?
Mm-hmm.
Make zigzags, different directions, make circular shapes. So like parentheses, where's the thin part? Where's the thick part? Okay. So like this. try making an entire circle in 2 strokes. Okay, so don't try to push the pen away from you. It doesn't like it. Don't do that. So try to only pull the pen either sideways or towards you, if possible. It doesn't always like being pushed away from your hand. Do we have any lefties here? Any lefties? No? No lefties? Okay.
Amazing.
That's kind of unusual, but this is a small group, so maybe not that unusual. Okay. Because lefties are always freaking out because they think, oh, I'm so different. What else do I have to do? I can't do this. So, you know, all righties is a little bit simpler instructions. Okay. Does this make sense so far? Do you see how the ink
Yes.
works? You see how the line gets thicker and thinner depending on which direction you're going? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Everybody with me so far? Is there anybody who has a question at this point? Any questions? Anybody? No? Okay. All right. So here's what we're going to do. Did everybody have a chance to print out the guidelines that I wanted you to have? If
These?
you, yeah.
Um,
No, that's the exemplar. Susan,
don't-
what you've got is the exemplar.
I don't
Okay.
think we got the guidelines.
Yeah, they would look like this
Yeah,
Oh,
sorry.
were they in the,
in the Facebook group too.
Oops,
sorry.
there we go. Okay, Lori, hold that up again if you would, please. There we go.
Oh,
I don't think I saw that in
I
there.
I didn't see those.
Okay. If you do not, here we go. If you do not have, let me do that. Okay. If you don't have that, how many of you did get special paper for this? How many have special paper for this? Okay.
I can,
Here's what-
I'll email them that again real quick.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, she's gonna email that to you. If you have the opportunity to print that set of guidelines out really quickly, if you can
Sure.
print out like two pages of that, or basically you just want 2 copies of those guidelines, just in case you write a lot. Today, we'll probably only need 1 sheet, but if you write fast, you may need 2 sheets. I don't know. So that's why I said print out 2 copies of those guidelines. Okay, so if you are not able to print those out, if you're in a situation where you can't print those out, then what you're going to do is you are going to, I'm trying to think what's the best way to do this if you don't have anything. If you-
Everybody's got it. It was just emailed.
Okay, great. Great. Yeah, and I know not everybody has the opportunity to print on demand. I've got a printer that's flaking out right now, which is why I do not have exactly the same kind of guideline sheets that you have. I had to draw them by hand because the printer was not cooperating today. So, but what I have is very similar to what you've got. It's just mostly drawn by hand on grid paper instead of being printed out the way you've got it. So if you have the opportunity to print that out right off, great, on the non-bleeding paper that you've got for this. That will be great. If you don't, we're just gonna wing it. That's part of what being in business is winging it, just making the best you can with the situation, right? Right, Lori? How many times have we been told that? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. If you have the opportunity to print, just step away, do your printing, come back, and I'll help you get caught up if you missed anything. Okay. All right. So I think you're going to be better off. If you've got a ruler, you might find it easiest to rule some lines if you're not able to print off those guidelines. Take the paper that you were sent or that you got, that is non-bleeding, and the ideal is to rule some lines that are 5/8 of an inch apart. Okay, 5/8 of an inch apart. So what you're going to get, let me move over to my other screen here. There we go. Okay, can everybody see my desk again? Yeah, good there. Okay. Yeah, let me know if you can't see it. Okay, so what we've got here is these lines right here. Let me pull this down. There we go. From this line to this line right here, that's 5/8 of an inch apart. And I've got a little bracket over on the side because you get so many lines and you don't know what's what. So this is so you don't get confused by all the lines. The bracket means what's called the X height of the letters. X height of the letters. So let me write that down. It's X hyphen HEIGHT. X height of the letters. And I'm not going to be teaching you a whole lot of vocabulary, but that's an important one. The X height of the letters means the height of a standard lowercase letter. So this is the baseline, this is the waistline. So if you look at the exemplar that I sent you, this is the baseline right here. This is the waistline up here. So most of the letters will be contained between those two lines. They will be 1 X height tall. This is 5/8 of an inch right here. Okay. Everybody with me so far, or are there any questions? Okay. Please let me know if there's something you don't understand. As I said, I teach beginners all day long, so I'd be very surprised if you ask me a question I haven't heard before. I've been doing this I've been teaching beginners for what, like 14 years at this point, at least 3 classes a year. So I've taught a lot of beginners, so don't be ashamed to ask a question. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. If you have the opportunity to either draw the lines, print off the guidelines onto your non-bleeding paper, that is going to be easier. If you have to, you can just wing it. If you don't have a ruler handy, don't worry about it. Just do the best you can. Just free form it. Okay. All right. So here's the thing.
Excuse me, so we should, what Lori just sent us, the grid paper, actually, I should print that on the special paper.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
I'll go
Yes,
do that.
I'm sorry if I wasn't clear about that. Yes, you should print it on the special paper, because if you just print it on regular copier paper, your ink is going to bleed. It's going to bleed and you're not going to be happy. So the paper at this point is more important than the guidelines. I think it's going to make more of a difference to you. It's hard to say, but you know, they're both important. But right now, I'm more interested in having you work on the good paper.
Yeah, I suggested if they don't have, if they didn't get the paper or they don't have like cardstock, just use cardboard even.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you can certainly use something like like just regular lined paper. You can do that if you don't have the special paper. That's fine. You can use that. It's just that your ink is probably going to bleed that way. And that's always kind of frustrating when your ink bleeds, because you're not going to get the nice crisp thicks and thins. So you can do that. You can do that. Just know that it's going to be an imperfect kind of situation. Basically, as a beginner, it's going to be an imperfect situation regardless. So just go with the flow with the imperfection, right? Okay, any other questions or concerns at this stage of the game? Anybody? I see some people have stepped away, so hopefully people are getting the opportunity to print out the guidelines. Okay, so I'll just give it a minute until we get everybody back here. Okay, all right, people are starting to come back now. While we're doing that, I need one more thing.
The folded ones, this would be correct.
You know how it is, you think you got everything ready and then you realize, oh, I forgot something. Okay, now I want to show you something. This is something that you need if you continue to study calligraphy. You don't need it right this minute. You don't need it right this minute. So this is a protractor right here. How many of you, be honest with me here, how many of you remember how to use a protractor?
Oh, I don't know about remember. I have used one, but
Okay, yeah.
I remember the ink cartridges though, and our pens, my first ink cartridge pen. Oh my goodness.
Good for you. Good for you. Okay, I'm going to just do a quick reminder on the protractor, just a really, really quick reminder. So with a protractor, if you don't remember how to do this, this is the way it works. Here's how I have my students do this. This is, if you see this, you know what? Let me put a different piece of paper here. Let's see what I'm doing with this. There we go. Okay. Protractor. Okay. Right here, this is a hole in the middle of the, close to the bottom, and you see a line running through it that goes from 0 degrees to 180 degrees. That is kind of your baseline. The hole is
90.
the center point. Okay. Some protractors have all of this at the bottom edge instead of up like half an inch. Either way is fine. If it's on the bottom edge, there won't be a hole there. Instead, there will be a little mark in the middle to indicate that. So basically the idea is this is kind of your foundation point, your starting point for all of this. And what we're looking for here is you want to look at your pen angle, Pen angle means the angle, well, first let me talk about this. From here to here, this distance right here, that's 30 degrees. That's what we're looking for. So on your page, it looks like this. So I've got my mark right here. So I'm going to line up this line right here down near the bottom of my protractor. I'm going to line it up on a line, a horizontal line, and there's the mark right here. That's that hole right there. So I'm going to mark right here at 30, like that. And then I'm going to draw a line from my original mark to the 30-degree mark. Okay.
I didn't
Now-
get them protractors.
No, that's okay. They don't need protractors right this minute. I'm just going to approximate it. Don't worry about it. This is something you don't need unless you're going to continue on. For right now, we're just going to approximate it. I wanted to minimize the number of things you had to get for them and all that. So, okay, if you look at this, what's 90 degrees?
Right
90
angle.
Right.
Oh.
It's a right angle. That's exactly correct. So this right here, a corner, a square corner, that is 90 degrees. 30 degrees is 1/3 of the way from here to here. You see that? So this is 30. If you had another 30, it would be about right there. And then this would be the final 30. So basically, if you are rotating from this line to this line, going this way, vertical, you're 1/3 of the way there. You're 1/3 of the way there. Does everybody see that? So if you're rotating from here to here, right there, to your 90 degrees, this is 1/3 of the way there. Do you all see that? Okay, I'm seeing some nods. I'm seeing some blank looks. Okay, right here, look at this. Right, this is 30 degrees. That's 30 degrees. This is 60 degrees. This line right here. And this is 90 degrees. All starting from here. Does that make more sense? Is everybody with me now? Okay, good. All right, so you don't need a protractor for what we're doing today. If you continue on in studying calligraphy, you do, but for today you don't. So just know that you're 1/3 of the way up when you're translating from 0 degrees, which is horizontal line, to 90 degrees, which is a vertical line, okay? All right, so here's the thing, pen angle. What you want for what we're doing, for the most part, is you want your pen angle to be at 30 degrees. That's the default. There are some exceptions but this is the default. By the way, what we're doing here is the very, 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 very quick and dirty version of teaching you calligraphy. We're not going to get anywhere near all the way through. This is just the preliminary, you know, it's the foyer of the house of studying calligraphy. Okay. It's just the starting
Carol,
point.
how long have you studied this?
I've been studying calligraphy for 43 years.
Wow. Yeah, so you're not going to learn everything today, but whatever she teaches you will help definitely make your letters much prettier.
Exactly.
The
So,
30-degree angle, are you talking the pen or the tip or both?
yes, that's what I was about to explain
Oh,
to you.
thanks.
What we're looking at is the pen angle, which is going to be, the pen angle means if you draw the thinnest possible line, that's going to be parallel to the direction that the thin edge of the pen is pointed. So if my thin edge is parallel to this horizontal line right here, that's the thinnest line I can get, and it's parallel to 0 degrees right here. If I turn my pen this way so that the thin edge is pointing straight up and down like that, that's the thinnest line I can get. That is a 90-degree pen angle. This is a 0-degree pen angle. This is a 90-degree pen angle. So it doesn't have anything to do with where the back end of the pen is, just FYI. It does not mean, oh, the pen is lower to the paper, the pen is higher from the paper. No, it doesn't have anything to do with that. It's all about what happens when the metal part of the pen hits the paper. So if I just take my pen and I put it down like that and pick it up again, where does the line I created point? Does everybody see that? So if I extended this line, see, it intersects with this horizontal line here. I could extend this far enough that I could take my protractor. So I could extend this like so. You know, I'd usually not use the actual pen to do that, but I could extend it far enough that I could measure it. I would line this up. So this is where it crosses right there. I would extend that line up here and I would see that this line right here is about a 55-degree pen angle. Do you all see what I'm talking about here? Does this make sense? Is there anybody that this does not make sense to? Okay. All right. So the default for the letters that we're going to be making today is a 30-degree pen angle. All right. So this is very important. Usually you don't get into this until the second week of class in the beginner classes that I usually teach. But Lori has me taking you on the speed version of this. Okay.
Highway.
All right. So that's the wrong size pen. Switch that over. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you how this works. What we're going to be learning today is a selection, because we won't have time to go through the whole alphabet. We're going to learn a selection of letters from the uncial alphabet. I pronounce it uncial. There's other people that pronounce it differently. There's no hard and fast rule on that. So that's the exemplar that I sent you, or that I sent to Lori to send to you. So hopefully everybody has that. This is the uncial style. It was a style that was developed in Ireland by the monks in around the 4th century. And it's kind of an unusual style in that it does not have capitals and lowercase. It only has the one kind of letter. Not that there aren't any variations to it, but you don't have capitals and lowercase. And that's one of the things that makes it an easier style to learn, because there aren't as many characters. So we're going to start with what's probably the simplest letter. I do not say the easiest letter, but it's the simplest letter. Hope you understand the distinction. Okay. All right, here's how this is going to go. I'm going to show it to you with the bigger pen first so you can see it a little bit more easily. And then I'm going to show it to you. Actually, I'm going to show it to you with the smaller pen, then the bigger pen, then the smaller pen again. Okay, so this is our X height. As I said, I put the little bracket there on the X height so you can find it in the midst of all of these lines. So here's how it's going to go. you're going to have your pen at that 30-degree pen angle, which means if you put it down and picked it up, the line would point like this. Okay, so here's how you're going to do it. You go a little below the line and you're going to make a little tiny quarter circle. So imagine that you're making a quarter circle. You're sliding the edge of the pen around a clock from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Okay, so watch what I do and then watch how I do it bigger and then watch what I do smaller again before you try it. Okay, so here we go. 1, it's a quarter circle. Let me pull this down so you can see it a little bit better. Okay, and then you pick up the pen, go back to where you started, slide up until the right corner of the nib touches this is called the waistline up here. This is the baseline and this is the waistline, by the way. And then from there, you go straight down, cover up what you did at the beginning and go down to the bottom and stop. Didn't quite come on clean, okay? So let me do this one more time. 1, pick up, back to the beginning, 2, 3. Now I'm going to do it with the bigger pen so you can see it a little bit better. Okay, here we go. I'm going to do the first stroke all by itself so you can see what it looks. So if this is my waistline up here, because this is a bigger pen, so I need more height. 1, see that? So here it is again. 1, pick up, 2, so the other corner, the right corner just touches your waistline, and then from there straight down, 3. Just come down to touch the baseline and stop. Okay, let me show this to you one more time. Here we go. 1, pick up, no, do it again. 1, pick up, 2, 3. Okay, so what we've got here for this part, this right here, I'm going to put it over here in the margin so you can see this a little bit more easily. Okay, 30-degree pen angle, quarter circle, like this. I'm going to show you how this works. It's like putting the left edge of the pen on a round clock. I'm approximating the round. This is 12 and this is 3. So you put the pen down at 12 o'clock, you pick it up at 3 o'clock. Do you see? And you always go this way. You're always going clockwise with this stroke. Do not go the other direction or it's not going to have as good a shape. Okay? So if you have not yet tried this, go ahead and try it yourself. So once again,
Now in our paper, we don't have all the little squares like you do. So are we using the bigger rectangle in the middle?
the bigger rectangle in the middle. I'm not
You know,
quite
the
certain. Hang on, let me.
where
let
it
me-
says guide 3.8 mils, there's a small box, then a longer box, then a small box.
hold it up and point to what you're talking about so I can see it. There we go.
Wait a second, there.
Yeah, there you go.
So we don't have all the lines in the longer box that you do because you have different paper, right?
Right, right.
But we should
Yes.
use the big box for.
Yeah. You should use the one. Hang on, let me undo this. Spotlight. Okay. So on your paper, what you have over on the edge looks like this. I think you have like this and this and this.
Yes, yes,
and
all
this,
the little
something like that.
boxes.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
so it looks something like that on the side. What you want is the space that has 4 of these
Okay.
little things next to it.
That's my question. Perfect.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that is your X height. Thank you for asking that. I'm sorry I wasn't clear. I wanted to
No,
have this-
that's, you
Yeah.
know, our
wanna
brains
ha-
aren't attuned to this yet.
No, I understand. And I'm sorry that I'm not using exactly the same paper as you are. But as you say,
That's okay.
we got to make do. So
This is fine.
yeah, so it's the biggest gap going this direction.
Right. Okay. Got it.
Those are the 2 lines that you should be writing between. Okay. So 1, make sure you leave room for the second stroke to slide upward to the line. Okay. So 2, and then you can pick up the pen there, or you can pause for just a moment. If you leave your pen there too long, it will start bleeding. So don't leave it there too long. So you just go up and either pick up your pen or just pause very briefly and then go straight down like so. Okay. 1, 2, 3. That is the letter I right there. Okay. Are there any questions?
Could you do it again and speak it through again, like the 12 to 3?
Sure. Okay. Step 1 or stroke 1, we call these strokes. When you put down the
Stroke,
pen
okay.
and pick it up again, that's usually 1 stroke. Occasionally there's some fiddling with that, but usually that's how it works. So stroke 1 is make sure you leave yourself a little bit of a gap below your waistline. By the way, let me just write this down. This right here is the baseline.
Okay.
This right here, that right there is the waistline. Just like a waistline on a person. That's this line right here. Okay. So we are writing between the baseline and the waistline at present. And the space in between is called the X height. Okay.
Thank you.
So, yeah, that's the majority of the vocabulary you need for right now. Okay, so leave yourself a little room. So don't start at the waistline. You need a little gap so that that second stroke has room to go upward to the waistline. So you're going to start a little below the waistline, and you're going to put your pen down at 12 o'clock and go around that quarter circle to 3 o'clock, and then pick up your pen. Then go back to where you started. Mine went a little off. By the way, if I put an X above something, that means, oops, there was a mistake. Don't imitate that. Okay. All right. So down on 12, around to 3, pick up, then go back to where you started the first stroke for the second stroke. So second stroke, down at the same place as the first stroke, go upward as thin as possible a line. So you're moving the pen in that 30-degree direction so that you get the thinnest possible line. Okay. You go until the right corner of the nib. So this over here
Okay, I
on
see.
this side is the right corner of the nib. This is the left corner of the nib. Everybody with me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And from there, you either pick up the pen or you just very briefly pause, and then you're going to take it straight down to the baseline and then pick up the pen.
Woohoo!
Yay! It sounds like you did it.
Yes.
Excellent. How's
I went
everybody
above.
else do?
I was above the waistline though, but that's okay this time.
Okay. Okay. How's everybody else doing?
Lori,
well?
aren't you doing it?
She's doing it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's muted. So there you go, Lori. Look at that. How about that?
Pretty embarrassing.
Yeah. How's it going for you, Lori? You said it's embarrassing?
Yeah, but you're making it very simple.
Well, I try. One thing I do want to say to you is if you've never done this is something that's experienced by all of my students who have never done this before. It's like going back to kindergarten and learning to tie your shoes, right? What happens with calligraphy is people think, you know what? I already know how to write. How much harder can this be? I'll tell you. And people also say to me, why does calligraphy cost so much? Come study with me and you will find out. Because it's not just like falling off a log. Oh, just pick up a different kind of pen and you can do calligraphy. No, it takes some doing, as you're finding out. So, okay, let's go back and learn a few more letters. Laura, you see where I said it's going to be hard to do this in an hour? Okay, but I do want to respect your time. So we will get through as much as we can in the time we've got. Okay,
And I
So
always built in a little extra, so you're fine.
oh, good. I appreciate that. All right. So one more time. Pen down, stroke 1, 12 to 3, pick up, back to the same place, slide up, touch the waistline, and then slide straight down to the baseline. Okay. Now, here's what happens. I'm going to show you with the bigger pen what sometimes happens. Okay. Sometimes what happens is this. You'll do this, and then you'll do this, and then you'll do this. And you will have something that looks like this. Do you see that? You'll have a little gap right there. Anybody have that happen to them? Yeah, a lot of people do. If this happens, either you got the wrong pen angle by a fair amount, or you started too low below the waistline. So you need to start a little bit higher, then you won't have that gap, because if you start a little higher, this part will not be as long. And so when you pull this down, it will not be as far to the right. The ideal is to have this stroke right here, your number 3 stroke, completely cover up the bottom of the number 1 stroke. Okay. Now the alternate thing that happens is this. Go like this, and then go like this, and then this. Oh, by the way, I'm going to put an X here to show you not supposed to do it like that. Okay. So anybody have something sticking out over here on the side like that? Anybody have that happen? Okay. If you ever do have that happen, what it means is either your pen angle is way off, or you started too close to the waistline. You started too close to the waistline, and this part was too short, which means you weren't far enough to the right when you brought your 3rd stroke down. So those are the 2 most common errors with this particular letter, in addition to your pen angle being way off. Okay. Is everybody with me so far? No good? Okay. All right. So let me show you another letter. Here we go. All right. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to go a little bit above the line. So I told you we're writing between the baseline and the waistline, and then the second letter we do, I'm going to tell you to go above the waistline. So there are exceptions. The parts that stick up above the waistline are called ascenders. So the L has an ascender, the K has an ascender, the H has an ascender, the D has an ascender. Let's see. Yeah, that's it. And then we've got descenders, which go below the baseline. So the F, this F has a descender, the G has a descender, the J has a descender, the P and the Q and the Y, they all have descenders. Everybody with me so far? Yep. Okay. Here we go. We're going to go just a little bit above the waistline, because we're going to do an L and it has an ascender. So not that far above the line. So don't go all the way up to this line. I could not find a way to, in the time I had, I could not find a way to get it set up so that that line was exactly right. So just go a little above your waistline. So like halfway above between your waistline and that next line up. Still 30-degree pen angle, and you're going to do, this is called a flag. This 3-stroke thing up here, that's called a flag. That's what I call it anyway. Technically, it's a serif, but I think it's like a golf flag. So you want this to be curved on the bottom and flat, not flat, but straight. It's a straight diagonal on the top, okay? So it should be curved on the bottom. So it's sort of like a little beak. It's curved on the bottom and straight diagonal on the top. That's what you're looking for, okay? So now we're going to do it just a little higher than we were doing it on the I. So we're going to go a little above, and we're going to do the same motions. Watch what I do first. Watch how I do this letter first, and then you do it, because there's some things that we're going to change in here. All right, so this part is all the same, except it's out slightly above the waistline. So 30-degree pen angle. 1, there's your quarter circle. Pick up the pen. 2, now, where do you go if your waistline isn't there? Go until this point right here. Sorry, can you see this? This point right here. Let me use this instead. This point right here is directly above this point right here. That's how far you go. Okay. Now, watch what I do here. Straight down until just a little above the baseline, and then you're going to swing gently to the left and stop when you touch the baseline. Let me do this one more time. 1, pick up. 2, 3, and just above, just swing gently to left. So approximately, if you took this space right here, the X height, divided into fourths, about a quarter of the way to a third of the way above the baseline, that's when you start swinging over. Okay, so let me do this one more time. 1, 2, 3, and about a quarter to a third of the way above the baseline, just gently swing over to the left and stop when your pen hits the baseline. Okay. So now that you've done that, I'm going to do one more. 1, 2, 3, over. Pick up your pen. Now, you know how I said for the most part, your default is 30-degree pen angle? Now I'm going to change that. You just got used to it, and now I'm going to change it. What you need to do is what's called flattening your pen angle. Now, if I turned my pen so that it was totally parallel to this baseline here, that would be a 0-degree pen angle. Is everybody with me on that? Do you all understand where I got that idea? If I had the thin edge of my pen parallel to this line down here, this baseline, that would be a 0-degree pen angle. What you need to do for this next stroke is go halfway in between 0 degrees and 30 degrees. Sorry, the camera likes to focus on my hand instead of the paper. So this is 30 degrees. This is 0 degrees. Halfway is 15 degrees. Okay, so what you're doing is it's not dead parallel to the baseline. You turn it just a little bit. So you see it's pointing just slightly upward. Just slightly upward. Don't worry about the exact pen angle at this point. Don't worry about that. Just get it somewhere halfway, roughly halfway in between 0 degrees and 30 degrees. So just tilt it up just a little bit, just a little bit. So here's what we're going to do. Once you've got that roughly 15-degree pen angle, start at the same place the previous stroke stopped, and the bottom edge of your pen, the left corner of your pen, is going to run along your baseline. So watch this. Straight out about to here, and then just do a slight curve up. Just a very slight curve up. Don't push it up too fast. So let's do the whole thing. 30 degrees. 1, 2, 3. Just swing over to the left. Stop. Pick up the pen. Now change to 15-degree pen angle. So just a little flatter. Straight out along the baseline and little bitty curve up at the end. Okay.
I guess this is going to take a lot of practice.
Yes. That's why my first course is 9 weeks long, because you need the time to practice. You know, I could teach it all in a weekend.
Oh my gosh. No, I can't do it. And that's the whole alphabet. Unless you have that skill, right? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't, let me undo this for a second here. The thing is, it doesn't take that long to go through all of the moves and adjustments and everything. The real key here is the practice. It's like any skill. When you learn to play an instrument, somebody can show you, well, you know, for example, I play the piano. Somebody can show you, well, this is what you call the notes and this is how you put your fingers on the keys. But to actually make beautiful music takes a lot of practice, right? This is the same thing. The fact that you already know how to write has almost zero bearing on this. Okay. This is actually more like drawing than it is like writing. It's sort of like drawing that you can read. Okay. So please don't feel like there's something wrong with you if this feels like going back to kindergarten. That's pretty
Those monks
normal.
took them a long time to do some of these things, didn't it?
Yes,
To copy
it
those
really,
Bibles, and
it really did. It
I
really
can't
did.
imagine. No wonder you see those pictures of the monks and the candles at night like that. No, that was
Yeah,
like you said, 14th century, right? Oh my goodness.
if you want to be amused, look up, let's see what would be an appropriate phrase to look up. Monk complaints in manuscripts. Monk complaints in historical manuscripts. They have things written in the margin like, oh, my hand, it feels like it's going to fall off, and the light is fading, and I feel like I'm going blind. You know, the parchment is too rough, the ink is too sticky, the pen is bad, things like that. It's all this fun stuff in there. So yeah, that's a fun thing to do. Okay, how's everybody else doing trying this out? Doing okay? Feel like you just want to cry? Anybody? No. Okay. All right. Want to learn another letter? See how this goes? Okay, good. Let me lock this on for you. There we go. Okay. Next, we're going to learn the letter T. All right, letter T. So here's what we're going to do. This does not have an ascender or descender, but it does have a 15-degree pen angle stroke. I'm going to show you that. Instead of being on the bottom, it's going to be on the top. So watch what I do first and then try it. We're going to change the pen angle to 15 degrees for this first stroke, and it's going to be the top stroke. So here we go, 15 degrees. Here's what's going to happen. It's going to have a little bitty hook up at the beginning and then run right along that waistline, and at the end it's going to have a little hook up. Whoops, didn't really show. So it's a tiny, tiny, tiny little hook at the beginning and the end. The only reason that we put these hooks on there is to make it look more attractive, because it's just not as attractive if you just put the pen down and go straight over. It's just not as pretty. So that's just to add a little spark to it. And by the way, this style is based on circles, so the letters may be wider than you would normally expect them to be, because everything is based on circles, even if there are no circles in that letter. The width is dictated by circles. Okay, so here we go. That's your top stroke of your T. Now we're going to go back to the 30-degree pen angle, and we're going to go to the middle of this stroke right here. Turn your pen to the 30-degree pen angle, and I'm going to go from the middle straight down. Watch what I do first. Straight down, and then when you get to the baseline, do a tiny little umbrella hook up. So if you think of the old-fashioned kind of umbrella, not the kind they sell now so much, but the old kind where they actually had a curved handle, it was curved on the bottom. That's the concept of this, but it's very small. It's very small. Okay. So that is your T. So here we go. 15 degrees, hook up, straight across, and at the end, hook up again, just a little bitty hook, then go back to 30 degrees, go straight down, and do a tiny little hook up at the bottom. Okay. And by the way, if you were to extend this part right here, this little hook, if you were to extend this, well, the idea, I didn't quite get it sorted out. I don't know if you can see that, but the idea is the angle it makes should be 30 degrees. Okay, so when you pull this up, If your pen is at 30 degrees, you'll get the thinnest, pointiest stroke right here if you pull it up in the direction of that 30-degree pen angle line. Is everybody with me so far? That makes sense?
I like the T the best so far.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Maybe it's all this practice.
There you go. Okay, how are we doing here? Okay, I'm just going to teach you a few more letters because that'll be, you know, I don't want to disrespect the time that has been allotted. So I'm just going to teach you a couple more letters. I'm going to show you the letter O. Okay, the letter O. Here's how the letter O works. So watch what I do first and then do it. So what we're going to think about with the letter O is if you imagine a clock that is round that just fits between the baseline and the waistline. This is not perfectly round, but you get the idea, okay? So a round clock that just squeezes between the baseline and the waistline, okay? So here's what we're going to do. 11 o'clock, 5 o'clock. All right, 11. I'm going to do all the numbers. 11 to 5. What we're going to do is we're going to, you remember when we went around the clock, like right here? We're basically going to do that, but we're going to do it from 11 to 5 counterclockwise and then 11 to 5 clockwise, more or less, okay? So watch how I do this. You want the whole thing to fit between the baseline and the waistline. So try not to go very much over those two lines. It's okay if you go slightly over it, but try not to go too much. So you're going to start below the waistline because you need that space because you're going to go up with the second stroke. So here we go. 11 o'clock, 30-degree pen angle, round, brush the baseline, and continue on up to 5 o'clock. All right. I'm going to do this in two parts and then put it together. The second stroke, you're going to go back to where you started, 11 o'clock, and you start a little below the line, go up, brush, come around to 5 o'clock. That's not as round as I'd like it to be, but you get the idea. Okay, so remember, we're going counterclockwise here. There we go. That's going counterclockwise, and this is going clockwise. You're starting and stopping in the same place for both of those strokes. It's just which direction you go. Okay? So if you put it all together, this is what happens. Stroke 1, brush, come up to 5 o'clock. Stroke 2, start at the same place as stroke 1, brush, nice and round, and connect down there at 5 o'clock. So one more time, nice and round. Sorry, try to get your pen working. Nice and round, brush the baseline, come up, brush, nice and round, and connect. One more time, see if I can get mine a little bit more round. Brush, and up, brush, and around. Okay? Now, let me show you something. If you have done this correctly, and if you didn't do it this way, don't feel bad, because trying to find, here we go. Okay. If you didn't do it this way, don't worry about it, because I didn't tell you to do it this way. Here's the thing. Where is the circle? Where is the circle? Let me show you. If I take the bigger pen and do this at this size, watch this. You should not use a bigger pen at this size, but this is for demonstration purposes of what I'm trying to show you here. So if I use the bigger pen and do exactly the same kind of thing that I just did, look at this. Watch what happens. Just brush and come down. Where is the circle?
It looks 3D.
Yep. Look at this. So you see this part right here, it looks like a football. That white space in the middle, that's not a
Yes, not a
circle.
circle, right.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, that's not a
that's
circle.
what you're saying, yeah.
Here's the circle. Right here. If you're doing it perfectly. Mine is not perfect, but it's close enough. And here, look at this.
Mm.
This is your circle. It's the left edge of this stroke, and I'm sorry, it's the path traced by one corner of the nib. So it's the outside of this stroke. It's the inside of this stroke. So think about where that left edge goes when you put those two strokes together. This right here is your circle. See how that works? So if you try to make this side, this part, the white space inside here, a circle, it's not going to look quite right. So don't do that. It's not as obvious when you're doing it at the correct size, but I did exactly the same thing here as I did here. I just did it with a bigger pen, so it's more noticeable that this part is not circular. Okay, so let's try this again. One more time here. So start a little below the line, 30 degrees for the whole thing. As round as you can make it, brush the baseline and come up to 5 o'clock. And then go back to where you started and do the same thing on the other side. Think about that circle. Where is that circle? Okay. And you can think of the right corner of the nib in the same way. The right corner of the nib also makes a circle, but if you're right-handed, it's easier to see the left corner of the nib. So personally, I find it easier to think about the left corner of the nib because that's the one I can actually see more easily. And everybody in this class is right-handed, so that's why I'm giving you that. All right. Any questions? Any questions about this?
How do you hold it at the 30-degree angle the whole time, I guess, right? That's what
Well,
you're, or 15-degree angle or 30? 30.
No, this letter is all at 30 degrees.
30, right,
This
right.
letter is all at 30 degrees.
Okay. You
Let's
just
see.
have to practice, yeah, holding it correct. It's the tip, not the pen. That's the thing. Okay.
Right. Let me show you something. Lori, are you able to admit the person who's in the waiting room?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So here's the thing. The way I do this is I normally have the pen resting more in the crook, sort of alongside my thumb. So it's resting in the V between my thumb and my first knuckle. So I rest it more or less along my thumb for the most part. You know, there's exceptions, but that's how I usually do it. So, but that's not really important. You can do it with your pen held up like this. It usually works better if you have it a little bit lower down, but you can still do it like this. The thing is, you want to find a way to hold it comfortably. This is one of the things that you learn when you study calligraphy, is when you hold the pen, the ideal grip for holding a calligraphy pen is have the 3-pointed grip or the triangular grip. So you see my thumb, my first finger, and my second finger are all touching the pen in kind of a triangular shape. Do you see that? That allows me to do this easily. See that? So if I need to twiddle the pen in my hand to change the pen angle, it's easy for me to do that. That way, I don't have to do this. I don't have to do this. I don't have to, you know, get myself into awkward contortions. All I do is just roll the pen in my fingers to get the different pen angle. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Do you see how that works? So just, you know, what I do with my students is I have them draw initially the 30-degree angle on here. And if I had thought about it, I would have set up your guidelines to have those 30-degree angles on it. But I usually have my students draw all their own guidelines. You guys got a bonus. I don't normally give my students guidelines. I make them draw them. I teach them how to draw them, and then they draw them for a while. Because any calligrapher has to know how to draw guidelines. So I start my students off this way. I knew we wouldn't have time to do that in this class, so I made some guidelines for you, but I forgot to add the pen angle lines for you. So normally you'll have pen angle lines all the way across the page for you. So you're over here and you go, okay, how close is this to 30 degrees? How close is it? Oh, it's not quite that close. Okay, I just rotate the pen in my fingers a little bit to get it set up. Does that make sense? That answer your question? Okay, good. Okay. I'm going to teach you another couple of letters here. All right, here we go. The letter N, the letter N. Now, this is more like a lowercase n. Some of the letters in Uncial are more like lowercase letters, and some of them are more like uppercase letters. But we basically don't consider that we have uppercase and lowercase, okay? So this version of the N looks more like a lowercase n. So here's how it goes. It's going to start out exactly like the I. Exactly like the I. So here we go. 1, pick up, 2, and down. Straight down, 3. Okay. Fix that up. All right. Now, this has what's called, you know what? I'm not happy with that. Let me redo it. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Okay, this has what we call a branching stroke. There's only one more stroke, and it's what's called a branching stroke. So the way I always explain this is if you think of a Christmas tree, do you remember the old-fashioned kind of Christmas trees? Put this over here so you can see it. You remember the Christmas trees where you would get a trunk, and then the trunk would have little holes in it for you to stick in the branches like this? Do you all remember that? So you'd stick in the branches into the holes. That's not what we want the branching to look like, right? So what you're going to do in order to make the branching look more organic so that it grows smoothly out of the trunk, which is this is called the stem stroke right here. This vertical stroke, that's called the stem in calligraphy. So what we're going to do in order to get a smoother branching, a smoother connection, a more organic, more graceful connection than just, oh, I'm starting here and it's coming straight out. Here's what we're going to do. Go to 1/3 of the way up between the baseline and the waistline. So about here, okay, about right here. You're going to still use your 30-degree pen angle. Here's what you're going to do. Watch this first. So I'm going to slide up along my stem stroke, and then about 2/3 of the way up, I'm going to gently pull it out and around, brush the waistline, come nice and fat and round, and when you get to the bottom, pick up the pen. Notice how wide this is? This is based on a circle. Notice how it's based on a circle. So let me show you the wrong way to do it so that you know the difference. The wrong way to do it is, this is all the same, okay? If you start up here instead of down here, it's not going to be as organic. Look at this. Look at the difference between this right here. You see how this flows smoothly out of the stem, whereas this is more of a corner. Do you see the difference? Mm-hmm. The way to make it look right, look more organic and more smooth, the way this style is supposed to go is start about 1/3 of the way up from the baseline, go up along the stem and just branch out, smoothly curve away about halfway to 2/3 the way. It kind of depends on what's going on. Somewhere around halfway, start curving towards the right, and you're aiming for just touching the top over there and continuing on around. Remember, this is all circular. Once you branch out of that stem, it's all rounded. There are no straight parts to this stroke once you branch out, okay? This is not as graceful because you just start here and, oh, I'm just going to go out and then around. So it's more of an angle. So one more time, let me show you how it's supposed to be done. Oh, this is how it's not supposed to be done. Here we go. One more time. 1, 2, 3. This is exactly your eye. And then about a third of the way up, slide up, gently branch out, brush, nice and round, 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 all the way to the baseline, and then pick up. See how that works? Okay. How's everybody doing with that? Doing okay?
I have a question.
Yes.
Is there a right side or wrong side to the pen, top or bottom? On one side, there's a little notch in it. Does it make a difference whether that's on top or bottom?
That's a good question. And my answer is I've never found it to make a difference. But if you find that it makes a difference for you, great, do it that way. Personally, it doesn't seem to make any difference for me. Some people do think it makes a difference. Not so much for me, but that's an excellent question. Thank you for asking that. Any other questions while we're at it? Anybody? Okay, I'm going to show you one more letter here. One more letter. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how to use this. Okay, I'm going to show you the letter M. All right. Now, the letter M is like 2 of the letter N, back to back. And each half is slightly narrower than if it's going to be an N. All right. So this is what it looks like right here. Okay. So here we go. We're going to do the backwards one first. So we're going to start out like we're making an O. So watch what I do first. Okay. So we're going to start out like an O. I'm going to come around. Oops. Come around. And I'm going to go down a little bit farther. So it's like making an O, but this is an O that would definitely dip slightly below. Oops. I'm going to have to redo it because I got my ink on there. Here we go. It would go slightly below the baseline if I were making an O. Okay, so it's stretched slightly. Now, watch this. By the way, this is all 30-degree pen angle here. So we're going to come up just like that N and brush and come around. Remember, this is slightly narrower than an N. And then we're going to transition to straight down. And then, hello, here's our little umbrella hook, just like we had on the T. Okay. So remember, this side is slightly narrower than an N in the white space, okay? Now, to finish it off, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do exactly what we did for the final stroke of the N, except slightly narrower to match the other side, because you want the 2 sides to match. So we're going to start about a third of the way up from the baseline, come up, gently branch out. We're trying to match the shape on the other side and the width and everything. Come around like so. Okay, so I'll do it one more time. Come around, brush and down, and a little umbrella hook. So this part should be straight down right there. A third of the way up, going to come up, branch out nice and smooth and round and come around, match the width and the shape on the other side, and stop. And if you feel like you've become a toddler again that doesn't know how to tie their shoes, it's normal. It's normal. So don't feel bad if that's what's happening to you. Because it does take practice, like we talked about. Okay? Let me do this one more time. Make it nice and round. Nice and round. And down. And up. And branch out. Try to get a mirror image of the other side. You're never going to get a perfect mirror image, but you do the best you can. Okay. So you've now learned, let's see, ILTONN. So you've learned 6 of the 26 letters. And basically what I do in my 9-week calligraphy 101 class is I get you to this point and teach you the rest of the alphabet the way I am now over a 2-week span. So two 2-hour classes to do what we've had a little over an hour to do. So as I said, this is the super fast version that we weren't going to be able to get everything done in. So that's the idea. I don't want to rush through this for you. So I don't want you to, get to the end and feel like, I don't even know what just happened. So I'm not going to try to teach you all the rest of the letters because of time. So that's kind of where we are with that. So what
But
I
you
do
can
in my-
see where it builds.
exactly.
So the same strokes, or now we're coordinating them or making them smaller or bigger, the circles, so we can apply each thing to the next
Exactly.
one. Okay.
Exactly. Yes, everything
cheat sheet.
builds on the other stuff. Yes,
Yes,
it all builds on everything else. So I start you with the simpler, the more basic strokes, and we build on that. And so you hear me say over and over, this is exactly like when we did just like you heard me say on the N. The first part of the N is exactly like the I. It's exactly like the I. There's no change. And then we're adding a piece to it. That's how this whole thing is built. You start with the basics and then you build on that, just like any set of skills. You start with the simpler ones and then you build from there. So when I do my 9-week class, my Calligraphy 101 class, what I do with that is I start students with what I call the skeleton forms normally, which is you don't even start with a calligraphy pen. You just start with a regular pen or pencil and do the motions, the shapes, without using the edged pen that you are using right now, the calligraphy pen. So it's a familiar tool, but unfamiliar shapes or less familiar shapes. So I show you, oh, we do this way and this way. So students practice that for a week, get the idea of the shapes in their head and in their hand, and then I introduce the edged pen. So we've compressed the majority of 2 weeks into an hour.
Because my people are super overachievers.
Yes, exactly. So I didn't want to overwhelm you, but Lori wanted you to get a taste of what this is like. So that's kind of where we are with that. So the second week, I go in and I teach you as much of the alphabet as we have time for. I introduce the edged pen, show you how to put together, show you how to use it, talk about pen angle and all of that sort of stuff. And usually we'll get through maybe half of the alphabet the first or the second week. And then the third week, we finish off the rest of the alphabet and, move on from there, do numbers and punctuation and all of that, and go into how to do projects and doing actual words and all of that sort of thing. So that's kind of how that goes. I also teach you in that class, just FYI, I'm just going to give you a little teaser thing here. Hang on 1 second, let me show you.
Yeah, and Cheryl, you said you would tell him what to do with this.
Yes, absolutely. Let me show you something else, just a little teaser thing here, and then I will tell you what to do with this. Absolutely. I show you how to do this kind of thing right here. Look at this. See that?
Wow.
So my beginners can do something like this. So that is what most people find to be the fun part of this. You get into calligraphy and you realize there's some work involved here to really polish this up and really get good at it. But the decorative part is easier. These decorated letters, those are easier, but I show you how to do that in that class. Okay, now, as Lori pointed out, I do want to get to, what do you do with this? And do you really want to pursue this? So if you pursue doing something like this, it will take a while, as you have already figured out probably. It takes a while to get really good at it. The bonus of this is you don't actually have to work at it all that long to get good enough that people who have never studied calligraphy are extremely impressed, right? So my beginners all, once they get started, they all say, oh, I don't feel like I'm good enough to share my work with other people. Guess what? If you share it with people who have never studied calligraphy before, they will be impressed, even if you are a beginner. I guarantee it. Now, if you do that with people who have studied calligraphy, they'll say, oh, that's a nice start, right? So it makes a difference whether somebody studied calligraphy or not. But if they haven't, they'll be very impressed. So you don't actually have to work at this all that long to get good enough to impress people. That's one of the advantages of calligraphy right there. So what do you do with this? Well, one thing you can do with this is to address envelopes. You can address envelopes. Let me show you something. Now, what I have here, actually, let me show you this other thing first. Hang on one second. So, you can address envelopes. Let's see. This right here. I'll show you that. And we've got this right here. Okay. Here we go. This is what I wanted to show you. Sorry, everything was handy, but I didn't have it all pulled out. Okay. For example,
Ah,
so this is an example. This is how I have my students start off with, because we're working with these larger size pens. You don't really have room to put a whole name and address with this size pen on a normal sized envelope, right?
right.
So when I start off, I have my students just start by doing just the name in calligraphy. And then the rest of it, you just do in your normal handwriting or just plain capitals like these, or, something simple for the address, because the name is the star. The name is what it's really all about. Nobody cares if you did the address in calligraphy if the name is done in calligraphy. Doing the address in calligraphy is a bonus, but it's all about the name. What do people care about? They care about their name. That's how you get people's attention. Do something special with their name. And remember, you got to spell it correctly. When you meet them, you got to say it correctly. That's really, really important. This is what I do all day long. If I had a nickel for every time I asked somebody how their name is spelled or how the name of this guest is spelled or whatever, I would be able to retire. I guarantee it. You got to spell the names correctly. You got to find out what it is. You got to say it correctly. That's really important. You get a demerit if you spell it wrong or you say it wrong. You lose all the credibility that you got from doing it fancy. So this is something that you can do. If you got something like this in your mailbox, wouldn't you open this first? Or would you just say, it's probably another bill. I'm going to throw it in the stack of mail I'm going to look at later. No, you're not going to do that. You're going to open this first. You're like, ooh, what is this, right? What do you think will happen to the attorneys that you're sending notes to if you send them something like this? They'll open it. They will. I guarantee it. That's how to get their attention. You can also do things like actual cards with this sort of thing. You can also decorate envelopes. That's something else I teach people how to do, is decoration. So even if you decide, you know what, I'm not sure I want to put in the work to actually learn to do calligraphy, that's looking like a lot of work, and I don't know if I have that much time in my life. If that's how you feel, I can teach you easy methods of decorating envelopes that will get that attention. Even if the address is typed or is handwritten in a more simple way, I can teach you ways of decoration that will make a difference.
You could just use their initials,
Yeah.
or you could just put the initials in the calligraphy,
Yeah.
the first and last, and do the,
Yeah, you can absolutely do that if you want to. So for example, let me pull this out for you. So imagine that you've got an envelope that has something like this on it. Now, of course, you can use, these hearts wouldn't be appropriate for a business situation, but there's all kinds of stencils that you can use. Things that you can do to add color, add liveliness, all of this sort of thing. Just use whatever you feel is suitable. And make it fancy. You know, this is all hand done, right? Look at this. Here's a little leaf. There's a little leaf. It sparkles, by the way. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it sparkles. So you can do all sorts of fun things here and just fancy it up. And I can teach you how to do all of that. So these are things that you can do. You know, these are different techniques for lettering. This is, I don't know if you can see this, but this is sparkly. Oh, can you see that? Yeah, it doesn't really show up on screen very well. You can see it in person. You can't really see it so much on the page. But anyway, I wanted to show you also, there's different styles. Let me pull this up. Here we go. Sorry, too much stuff on my desk. There's different styles. So this is Roman caps. This is what we've been learning. This is the uncial. And I teach the uncial first because it's one of the simplest styles to learn. Okay, so even if it's not your favorite style, just know that that's why I chose this one to teach you, because it's one of the easier ones to learn. There's black letter. A lot of people like the black letter. Italic. This is another favorite with people. And this is the second style I teach my beginner students, is italic. It's a very popular style. There's fracture, which is sort of a hybrid between black letter and italic. And then you get into something that's done with a different kind of pen called a pointed pen. This is copperplate right here. You know, it's a script style. This is also a very popular style. Let me pull this down so you can see a little bit better. This is a flourished copperplate. And then there's Spencerian, which is another pointed pen style that is, it's the first American style developed in the 19th century. And it's more like regular business writing. I call it business writing with its party clothes on. That's what I call it. So it's the business writing is the way that bills and contracts and all of that sort of thing were written before the invention of the typewriter. Before they had the typewriter and the ballpoint pen and all of that sort of thing, fountain pens and whatever, this is what they did, but this is a fancier version of business writing. So you can see the lowercase is just a nice, you know, simple script, and the capitals are fancier, the ends are fancier, some of the ascenders and descenders are fancier. So that's why I call it business writing with its fancy dress party clothes on. Copperplate is more popular in general. That's the third style I teach my beginning students to do. So I wanted to just see some of the varieties of different styles. So,
Thank you.
okay, yes.
Yeah, thank you. And can you put in the chat how people can reach you if they're interested in learning more?
Yes, absolutely. Let me pull up the right thing here. So what I have for you is here we go. Copy and put in here. There we go. All right, what I'm putting in the chat for you is, make sure it's correct. And let me put my email address in there in case there's a problem with the link. Oops. It would help if I can actually type correctly. There, okay. So what I've put in there for you, the link is to a form where you can put in your contact information, and that will send me a message to send you a link so that you can schedule a call with me. And what we're going to do is, it is a get attention from attorneys strategy call. So I'm going to work with you to help you figure out what are the best ways to get positive attention from attorneys through what we've been doing here, through calligraphy, through writing, through decorating envelopes, through, you know, that sort of thing. Basically through paper, working with paper. How do you get their attention? You know, I'm not here to teach you what's your messaging going to be or how to set up a funnel or anything like that. I'm going to teach you about how to get attention through things that go on paper, because that can be a powerful thing. Okay. And I just want to tell you, this is a form that will come to me that and I'm going to be reaching out to you individually. So don't expect something to pop up in your email the instant that you fill it out. I will personally look at it. I will send you a message and tell you how to set up a call with me from there on. Okay. All right. Any questions about what we've done, about anything going forward? Any questions?
That could enhance our displays.
Yes,
Mm.
exactly. Yeah. So it's not just about the lettering. So even if you decide, you know, this calligraphy stuff is too hard, it's not for me, it's going to take me too long to do. Well, there's other things that I can teach you that don't take as long. So don't feel like there's only one option. There's lots of options. That's what we're going to talk about in our call. Okay?
Thank you so much.
You are very welcome. By the way, the strategy call is completely free, no charge.
Well, thank you, Cheryl. I so appreciate you sharing your genius with us, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're very welcome. Any thoughts on this? What did you find difficult? What did you find easy? Anybody?
Oh, I found the instructions easy. The way to actually doing it was hard. I understand, the brain understands, but the hand wasn't ready yet. Or
Yeah.
just to the practice piece, you know, and it's a different art form.
Yeah, you got to build up that muscle memory in order to be able to work with it. One of the tips that I share with my students is don't try to focus on more than one thing at a time, because your brain can't handle it. My understanding is the brain can only handle about 7 things in conscious focus at the same time. And I figure your brain is already busy with at least 5 of those things. So I always tell my students, don't try to concentrate on more than 1 or 2 specific things when you practice calligraphy at a time, because your brain's already, you know, it's already booked up with the other 5 slots. So don't overwhelm it. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lori, for inviting me. And thank you to everyone for letting me come into your world and teach you a little bit about my world. You know,
think I had a question. Did you have a
yes.
question?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Oh.
anybody have a question?
Yeah, thanks, Cheryl. Just one question. This was great. Thank you so much. What if you just want to learn one style, or do you have to start out with the style you taught tonight and move on?
Is there a particular style that you would like to learn?
The Cooper Smith one.
The copper plate?
Copperplate, that was it. Sorry,
Yeah.
copper.
I'll tell you, everybody wants to learn copper plate. You are not alone. That's very common. The reason I have students start out with the uncial style and then move through the italic style, and then I have another class to kind of help you get used to the different the different tools that you need for copper plate. The reason I don't have students just start directly with copper plate is it's sort of the equivalent of taking a kid who doesn't know how to swim yet and telling them, okay, now you're going to dive off the high board.
Okay.
Because you don't know about the tools, you don't know about working with slant, you don't know about the capitals and lowercase, you don't know about working with ovals, you don't know all this sort of stuff. And it's much easier for you if you don't have to try to learn all of that stuff at once. So
Okay.
I try to kind of give it to you at a pace where the average human can actually handle it and not be like, you guys are all, 2 miles down the road and I'm back here trying to figure out how to turn the key to turn my engine on, So that's why I teach people like that. So it's what I think of is make haste slowly. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yep. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Thank you all.
Well, thank you, Cheryl. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing your beauty and this was so fascinating.
Oh, thank you so much, Lori. And thank you to all of you for being willing to play in my world. So I hope to get to
Fun.
talk to all of you about what your next steps are and see how we can help you to set some rocket fuel to your business.
All right. Thank you.
Great.
Thank
Thank you. Okay.
On a Sunday, especially.
Exactly. Thanks so much. Lori, do you need me for anything else?
No, thank you again.
All right. You're very, very welcome. Everybody take care. I hope to talk to
You
all of you
too.
soon.